Please welcome Dr. Centola of Haus Bioceuticals.
Hi, I'm Mike. I'm an academic. Say hi, Mike. It's the joke. All right, we're cooking here. You know, I really wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the support of OCAST and really the SBIR program. I'm a reformed academic. I'm an entrepreneur now in biotech. And really it was their gentle mentorship over a decade, really, that got me to the point that I am now. So I'm very grateful to start this off and have the opportunity to thank you guys. So we're Haus Bioceuticals. We've developed really the absolute most efficacious and a safe treatment for both eczema and psoriasis. We've also developed again, the most efficacious treatment for diabetic ulcers and bed sores, decubitus or pressure sores. I'm going to tell you a lot about what we did in eczema and psoriasis today. We use an evidence-based natural medicine approach. Simply what that means is we bring together two disciplines, the discipline of herbal medicine and the discipline of really pharmaceutical development. And we're able to use this sort of third path, and you'll see that we're able to bring quality healthcare at an affordable price globally. I call this the applied alchemy of evidence-based natural medicine because our company is sort of steeped in alchemy in two different ways. In one way, we actually use these extracts that were developed by this brilliant alchemist in the 1800s. I'm going to tell you a bunch about that, very detailed information about that. But also just sort of philosophically, it's this alignment of using different polarities and bringing them together into a third path that's at the art of alchemy. This is a beautiful meditation mandala from the 1500s. And I'm actually going to decode it for you today. That's rich with information. In the middle, you have the alchemist. These are the elements that he's sort of at one with in order to be able to work his magic. And then here you see the polarity represented by the sun god and the moon queen, the masculine power, feminine power, authority over consciousness, authority over unconsciousness, all kinds of ways of thinking about these poles. And really what I'm going to show you is a process to bring these two things together into something that's greater than either one of the two. These are the elements in the alchemist world. It's sort of their periodic table of the elements. They see all things as being made up of these three things. And the process here is that they're existing in these different states. In an unpure state, we can purify them, re-put them together, rebuild them. We get a much more rarefied form. Alchemists is sort of, you think of, well, they turn lead into gold. It's more of a metaphor for bringing things to their purest state. These same sort of chemical principles that I'm going to tell you about also are applied philosophically in order to be able to achieve enlightenment eternally. So this thing in the middle, these are the 7 major processes. This is a star within there, and it's a chemical cookbook. These are the 7 chemical processes. You can take this home. You can go turn lead into gold in your garage, all kinds of other things. We certainly did some interesting things in our garage with it. But I'm going to walk you through them a little bit. The first step is you calcinate. You burn something down to its elements. And you can see this black crow sitting on top of a skull symbolizing that chemical process. Now you have things down, burned to their elements. You solvate those. You pull out the soul and the spirit. They're in an impure state. They're fighting each other. You purify out the impurities. You can bring them together. You're now at the highest state of conjugation. In a lot of philosophies, this is sort of it. You're as close as you're going to get to the higher power. You're going to go on into the heavens. Alchemy is about working here on earth. And so you're going to take that purified, enlightened state, and you're going to throw some dirt at it, and you're going to make it ferment. That's the black stage of alchemy as we're heading into the moon phase here. And when you ferment something, there's a putrefaction. Things kind of turn black, and then a life sorts of form. If you're going to ferment cheese, you start to see the cheese forming. It's that new life form that we're after. We're going to distill out that little element of life into a more purified state and then precipitate out from this distillate the highest purified state. Again, alchemy is a practical science. It all points back down to the earth. You've done all this work. Now get to work and put it to use. So this is Count Mattei, a famous alchemist from the 1800s. Hopefully that wasn't one of his happier days. It's the only picture anybody can find of Count Mattei. Count Mattei did something very interesting. He bridged this discipline of alchemy and herbalism, and he invented a method of applying that chemistry to the extraction of herbs. And so you'll see all these methods: calcination, fermentation, distillation, conjugation. And he thought, well, I'm going to be transmuting these dead herbs back to a life. and I'm going to be able to treat patients with those, and it's going to have an effect. So I call this Applied Alchemy 1.0. It had a lot of power, potentially, and he used it in all kinds of different ailments. Unfortunately, it failed, because really, it required a little more discipline, a little more purification. Pharmacology hadn't been invented yet. There wasn't the discipline of applying this. It was applied to all kinds of different diseases. It worked in some. It didn't work in others. And what we did at Haus is sort of take it to the next step. I call that Applied Alchemy 2.0. Simply stated, we used the discipline of pharmacology on these herbal extracts. Preclinical trials, mechanism of action studies, clinical trials, finding an indication, and then in quantitatively determining what is the efficacy relative to standard of care. So the trip takes us to India. This is a place in India called Biome. It's in Punjab, India, a few clicks from the Afghani border, Pakistani border. This is my buddy Ajit, the head alchemist at Biome, who's kind of trying to pierce through your eyes through the camera there. He's actually a lovely guy. This place is a time capsule. They make Count Matei's extracts exactly as he did in the 1800s, and they apply them in exactly the same way. This is myself, this is Tomi, this is Adam, this is Philip, this is the Haus team visiting there. Tomi, who's a naturopath and an MD and a partner at Haus, was using these extracts as part of his practice. He uses Western medicines and Eastern medicines interchangeably in his clinic in southern India. And he put together a novel combination of Count Matei's extracts, and he was injecting them into the joints of rheumatoid arthritis patients, making Tomi either the smartest or the craziest person on the planet. But it worked. So he was getting resolution of symptoms. This is a highly inflammatory disease, so severely inflammatory that he started to eat up cartilage and bone, leading to the disability that is characteristic of rheumatoid arthritis. Tomi's brother-in-law was Philip. Philip's another partner at the company. Philip did his PhD with me, got his MD PhD. Now he's at Hopkins as one of the world's experts in animal models of inflammatory disease. Tomi sends his extracts off to his brother-in-law. He starts injecting them into some of these animal models and sees incredible anti-inflammatory efficacy at Hopkins. This is just the data from one of the models. It's a mouse model of inflammatory bowel disease, a severe inflammation of the gut. You literally tear up your gut in this disease. And when Philip injected this extract intraperitoneally into the mouse, the level of inflammation that happened was dramatically less than untreated mice. Just as importantly, there was a tremendous organ preservation. So this is a gut slice from a mouse that's going through this kind of inflammation, and it's just torn up. In a treated mouse, you have beautiful goblet cells, mucosa, and the structure is intact, as is the function. So we ran through 3 years of work, mouse models, mechanism of action studies, clinical trials, getting together every week or two and saying, what direction do we go in, finding a path through this. Eventually, we tried this in skin inflammation. At this point, we called it Haus Anti-Inflammatory Therapy 01. When we tried it in skin inflammation, it was such a killer app. Eventually, the name was changed to Metaderm. I'm going to tell you about our work in eczema and psoriasis. We've done a number of trials there, and this is maybe the most important one. This is a double-blind, placebo-controlled, randomized controlled trial in eczema, a multi-center trial. Double-blind trials where neither the physician nor the patient knows what they're treating with or what they're receiving, so it takes as much of the bias out of the trial process as is possible. You get the purest answer from it. And what we saw was that the level of efficacy in patients with severe disease that were treated with Metaderm was the highest level of efficacy of any eczema treatment. That's the placebo arm. 85% of patients were 80% or more improved. More importantly, we saw no adverse events in any of these trials. There were no toxicity observed in the animal studies. Half of all eczema patients are children, most are babies, many have severe disease. There's nothing safe enough to treat these babies. So we have a unique opportunity here to be able to get efficacy. We have teary-eyed letters, YouTube videos of mothers that are just blown away because it's the first thing that's worked in their babies. This is the response in our psoriasis trial. 92% of patients had a profound response, 75% or more improvement in symptoms. We can bring this to market and are bringing this to market back in places like India, so the highest level of care can be done affordably. There's nothing that reaches this level of efficacy, and certainly nothing close to this price. Our marketing strategy is to use channel partners. It's a challenging road to get these things through the regulatory process. We use channel partners that are expert in certain regions in order to get this through the regulatory process and who are already expert and already have the networks in order to be able to market it. We did an experiment. We're scientists. We did a marketing experiment by putting it on Amazon 5 months ago. It's just been ramping like crazy. We're over $60,000 in sales in 5 months. If you do a search on Amazon with psoriasis cream, we come up #1. Psoriasis scalp, we come up #1. Best cure for eczema, we come up #1. And this is against products that have been on the market for decades. So we get back to this, evidence-based natural medicine. It's a third path. It's effective. It's alternative. But it's something that I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of now that we've sort of broken through. And that's it. Thank you.